Welcome to forever, man. Let's go. Come on. This forever. No surrender. Yeah. You know that this right here forever. Go. And there will be no surrender. Now allow me to reintroduce myself.
You're now tuned in to the Dads Who Live podcast. I'm Joel Staley with my co-host Tyler Gata.
On this episode of the Dads Who Live podcast, we talk about tips to bring more money into your life. You can also check us out if you like this sweet apparel that we've been wearing during the podcast. You can also get this stuff at www.dadswholiftapparel.com. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Dads Who Live podcast. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Joel.
So we are here. You know what's crazy? So I got a buddy that's in, we were talking about this a little bit earlier, but I got a buddy that's in Vegas right now, and I really want to go.
You should go, man. Nothing's holding
I think Amy will let you go.
Let me go? No.
Oh, shit.
Divorce me if I go? Probably not.
Wait, so that means you can go?
I could go.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I guess we'll see. I don't know. I got a lot of work I got to get done this week.
Yeah, I don't know if I have the spare funds right now, which is kind of crazy is what we want to talk about during this podcast.
Absolutely.
That's something we hear a lot in the Dads Who Lift group is, what's a good affordable pre-workout? How can I eat a nutritious diet without breaking the bank? Obviously, dads have to budget, so it is smart to, plan for these things. But just talking about, not being broke or getting your finances squared away.
How to bring more funds into your life.
Yeah, and this is a reason that I gravitate towards you. You're very successful in terms of business. I'm getting my business off the ground, so it's like, obviously you've heard, hang around 4 millionaires, you'll become the fifth. Mm-hmm. So let's just make it a short podcast, brainstorming, going back and forth.
Yeah,
I can pick your brain a little bit, and then we can find out how can just your everyday average dad with no life-changing skills or talents bring in some either passive income or just some extra income so it doesn't put extra stress or whatever on the relationships and life in general.
I want to say too, though, that you're very, man, you always say you're in these beginning stages, which I know you are. But you're also a dude that just quit his full-time job, a year ago?
Yeah.
And so now you're selling these programs. I'm not going to say the price, but you're selling these programs by the dozens, making good money. So there's something to be said right there for following your passion, following your dreams, and doing what you're invested in, doing what you're excited about, right? I mean, I know you're excited to help people. Every day when you wake up, you got a call. We have to have a short podcast here because he's got a call here in 45 minutes, a coaching call. And I know that when you have, that guy that dropped 50 pounds on 8 weeks, you're just as fucking happy about it and excited as he is, So I think that has a lot to do with it is find that calling, find what excites you, find what you like, and then figure out how can I do this every day, this thing that I like, and capitalize on it, which is what you're doing.
Yeah, there's a lot to dissect right there, and I don't shake my head don't say my price out loud because I'm totally gouging people. But what people tend to not understand is when you are trying to build a business, there's a lot of funds that go into marketing. I'm paying right now about $400 a day for Facebook ads. I'm on the verge of hiring my first coach and getting payroll going. So yeah, one of the things that a buddy of mine, Jake Kalina, who's in the group, he's instilled in me since the day I quit my job was knowing what you're worth. Mm-hmm. Now he's in construction and general contracting and handyman work. And it sounds like that's something a lot of people struggle with. When I started off, I was getting people programs for $49 a month.
Yep.
And then
I was one of them.
What I noticed was, the same guys did the program for a year and they don't get a tenth of the results that my clients that are paying higher ticket who have more skin in the game are getting. And that's just because, they're less invested.
Right.
But knowing your worth, I mean, that right there is a huge lesson that a lot of guys got to learn.
So say a guy's got a job, he makes decent money, say middle of the road money, he's getting by, he's a single dad. We're not out here telling people to go quit their fucking jobs right now because you want to make more money, right? So what can that guy do to make more money? And I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is get a second job, but then the struggle is, and especially if he is a single dad, maybe he's a married dad, who knows? But the struggle is what's my time worth, and how much time do I take away from my family to make those extra few bucks? Like what's the good answer in the balance? Am I better off making $50,000 a year and changing my lifestyle to adapt to where I'm comfortable inside that $50,000 a year so that I can have more time with my family? Or am I better to be less present with my family, get that extra job or work those extra hours to where I can make $75,000 to $100,000 a year, and they can live better, but I'm not around to experience it, And so this is something that, like, when I first started my company, people only see like 10 years down the road. You know what I mean? So like now I have a flexible schedule. I've never missed one of my son's field trips ever. I pick him up from school most days. And so I can move things around to be there for him now, but nobody sees, the first 4 or 5 years that I started my company where I dropped him off at daycare from 6:30 a.m. and didn't pick him up usually till 6:37 every night, even though they closed at 6. Like, they would wait around. They knew, like, I was always going to be late. And so this kid, and he was, like basically a 1-year-old, 2-year-old. He stayed in that daycare all the way up until kindergarten or whatever. But he's doing 12-hour days, 5 days a week in this daycare because I'm working so much. And then on the weekends, my mom's taking him so that I can work more. And even before that, even when I was with his mom before we split up, she was a stay-at-home mom, but I would barely even see them. I mean, it was even worse then. I would go to work at 7 a.m. every morning and not get home until 8 or 9 o'clock every night. Most nights, not every night, but most nights. And so there's a lot of my son's childhood that I missed out on, but I don't know. To me, there comes a point to where it's like, you got to weigh the options. You got to find that happy medium. Am I going to miss my son's birthday? Like, I've never missed any of my kids' birthdays, no matter how much I had to work, So just like Tim Rexia says, he was on one of our podcasts. If I have to stop working at 6 o'clock so I can spend time with my kids and go back to work at midnight or 2 or 3 in the morning, then that's just what I got to fucking do. So it's priorities, mindset. What do you think?
So if we're just taking your everyday average dad, has a full-time job, has a wife and kids at home, doesn't have a whole lot of spare time, like you said, to get another job without taking away quality time from the family, a good book to look at would be The Lean Startup. And that's exactly what I did. So in 2017, all I did was I started making workouts and diet plans for people online. And I made $3,000 in the whole year, not knowing what the hell I'm doing. Made a website, made a logo, decided what I was going to do, and then just started running with it. So I think step one would be, if you're in that position and you don't want to go work the night shift at McDonald's, and you're in a position you can nurture the business as it grows. Like you said, find something you're passionate about. Make sure that it's something that there's other people doing and being successful with. And then just in your spare time, I'd make a list of stuff you're doing that's not making you money, and it's a big time waster. Say if you're spending 2 hours a night after the kids go to bed watching Netflix, just winding down, we'll spend those 14 hours a week building a website, figuring out what your signature offer is, seeing what other people in the industry are doing to be successful, and just start fucking up, because that's the only way you're going to.
And what I'm hearing here is invest in yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, don't just let life pass you by. If you want greater things, you want better things for you and your family. Invest in yourself.
And I was getting to that too. You can either do like I did and spend the first 2 years figuring stuff out and wasting time, but as you'll be the first to say, you can always make money back. You can't make time back.
Exactly.
So what I ended up doing when I did quit my full-time job and just decided to go full-time with my online coaching business was I hired a coach who had helped dozens of guys just like me do exactly what I was trying to do, and B, was someone I had full trust. If I'm coachable, they can get me to where I need to be without me, searching under every single rock and trying to find the magic answer. So that's another big one is if you want to get into real estate, sure, you can pick up a book or take a course, but ideally what you want to do is find a mentor, find someone in your circle or in your circle that's been successful in real estate and, is willing to help you find out how to be successful as well, or whatever it is.
And you actually brought the coaching aspect to me. I remember when you told me you hired your first coach, I kind of laughed at you a little bit, because but they're completely different industries, right? So where I started my first company and it made my bread and butter is the service industry, like hard labor, construction, landscaping, lawn care, stuff like that. So it's an industry to where as long as you're presentable and you answer your phone and you know how to run a business, you can get work, and then you just have to work hard to make the money. It's different when you're in sales or an online company, completely different. It's not about how much sweat does Joel pour out in a day to get as many block thrown as he can to get that retaining wall done to make more money. It's there's marketing, there's how do I reach people, how do I get people in, targeting, ads, all kinds of shit. So at first it never even occurred to me hire a coach, but now I see it. And, the 2 podcasts before this, when we have my relationship coach in here, it's now I'm all for it, man. If there's somebody that knows better than you, why not take their advice? Why not, instead of you having to make the same mistakes that they did and learn from those failures that ultimately cost you more money than you're going to pay a coach in the first place, why not just hire someone that can get you there quicker, less painful, easier, and you might actually learn a fucking thing or two.
And you've mentioned you've been blessed in terms that you've had a mentor or two in your past.
I've had a bunch of mentors.
I have people I look up to, but not people who have done exactly what I'm looking to do and walk in those exact footsteps. So the way I look at it is if an online coaching business is a video game and they've gone through level 1 to 100 and I'm starting at level 1, knocking out one level at a time, taking my lumps, it makes more sense for me to invest in their coaching and have them give me the cheat codes to level 1 through 99, and I can now level up to level 100 quick. Mm-hmm. So really, I just said it, but you really do learn you can make the money back, and I would much rather spend, so I've told you this, but most I've spent on a coach ever was within the last 2 weeks, $15,000. And it's
that's a lot of money.
I'll take that every day if I know it's going to 10x my investment and it's going to save me 5 years of trial and error every time.
Even though Amy's you spent how much?
No, she said that the first couple times I bought coaches, and this time she didn't even bat an eye. Yeah. She's like, all right, if you paid this and your business blew up like that, and now you're paying this, I'm going to start checking out some new houses. So it really is, if it's something you believe in, sometimes, like the old saying goes, you got to spend money to make money. So since this podcast is for guys who are trying to figure out how to get more income, that's what I'd say. Go with the lean startup model and then do something online, because that way you don't have to spend 8 hours away from your family every night. You can do it when the kids go to bed.
Even if you don't want to start a business, though, add value. I don't give a fuck where you're at. Even if you do work at McDonald's, there's nothing wrong with that. Add value. If you're that dude that's always adding value, that dude that's always going the extra mile without being asked of it, you're going to get promotions. You're going to move up in that company. You may only be making $30,000 a year right now, but be that dude that adds value. Be that dude that's always on top of it, that never has to be asked to do anything, and you're just always doing it because that's how you want to serve. If you want to be a $100,000 a year employee, act like you're a $100,000 a year employee. If you want to make $100,000 a year, then be that employee before you actually get there, and you'll fucking get there. You know what I mean? Like, if you just go to work every day and you're like, oh, well, this is my job and it is what it is and it's never going to get any better, and you just put in the bare minimum or even just fit in, you're normal, you're not ever going to go anywhere. They don't pick normal guys and give them raises. You know, they don't move normal guys to the managers and supervisors and CEOs and things like that.
That brings me to another point, is look for other opportunities, because in my opinion, you don't have the right to bitch if you're not actively doing something about it. So there's guys that are making 30 grand a year, like you said, and then you ask, all right, have you applied for any other jobs? Are you asking friends what they have available? Are there any other opportunities? No, because this is what I've always done. They just bitch to bitch. So if you're not actively looking for better paying opportunities.
Or have you gone above and beyond?
Right. So those are the first things, is A, if you got friends that are making money, see what they're doing. If they have some education you don't have, it's probably off the table. But I can tell you right now, if you're in sales, you take a couple sales courses, anyone will hire you. Every business needs sales. So that's not a skill that takes that long to learn.
Or just invest in yourself and go back to school. You know, I mean, that may be something, even if you're just going to learn a trade, I mean, that may be something that takes away from your family for a short period of time, but trade school isn't that fucking long. And then you change your job, you get into a position that you're making double the money, and you're working, if it's union, you know, you're probably actually working less hours than you were before. Not always, but I know sometimes. So I think there's multiple ways, like there's plenty of money out there, right? And the way that I look at it is like, if all that money's out there and he can do it, then I can do it. If you can make it, then I can make it, you know? And I also, you know, I always end up going here, but like, I feel like life is really what you make it and how you see it, and you have to visualize it before it's going to happen. Anything that happens in your life, you have to visualize and believe in. And if you, like for me, we've talked about in past mindset or podcasts as well, like for me, relationships are something that in my mindset, in my mind, relationships aren't easy. And in my physical life, relationships haven't been easy. So I'm trying to change that into, in my mind, like combat that to where relationships are easy, man. Love is free flowing. They come to me easily. And I think with that perception, then it actually happens. And like my coach that we had in the last podcast, Brian Reeves, he'll always say when we talk about this, he's the opposite. To him, relationships are easy and always have been easy in his mind. But for him, money is hard. He always thinks like, don't spend that extra dollar. Like, hey, I can't upgrade to get shrimp on top of my steak, the extra $2. You know, to play in his mind like, no, I shouldn't do that. You know, and he's got to combat that and say, no, fuck that. Money comes easy. I will make enough money to where I could spend this extra $2. You know, so. In mindset, if you feel like this is what I want, you can see it and it's going to come to me. Like, I'm not saying that you don't have to sit here and work for it, but if you can see it as it's coming to me already and it's going to come to me, I truly believe that it will. And if you don't see it like it's going to come to you, those are the guys that do just bitch and never actually take any action towards getting anywhere because they don't believe in it. If you don't believe in it, how are you going to invest in yourself and take any action? You have to believe in it first to be able to even possibly be able to invest in yourself and take action. And then you get it.
So if I were starting from square one, I would Google or research top 10 ways to make money online, because you have like 15-year-olds making $100,000 a month just from drop shipping, meaning they're taking some product from China, they're putting a couple marketing dollars towards it on Facebook and upselling it for 10 times what they're paying for it and making a bunch of money.
That's crazy.
That's just one thing. It's a skill that takes a couple weeks to learn. But there's so many things that if you haven't researched that kind of stuff, you'd never even know is happening. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's like you have to see what other people are doing to be successful as opposed to just guessing and then hoping that it works. Because it's one thing to have an idea, and it's a total other thing to actually see it through and, like I said earlier, take your lumps and figure out how to monetize it.
I think it's add value, man. The way to be successful at anything you do in your life is to add value. There's Jeff Bezos that owns Amazon, richest man in the world. it was actually a quote from Shaq that he had heard Jeff Bezos say, that how he knows when he's on track are the only time he'll do business if it's going to change people's lives. The only time I will do business is if it's going to change people's lives. And Shaq said, I'm pretty sure it was Shaq. I'm 99% sure it was Shaq, but don't hold me to it. But in this quote, he said, ever since I've started putting that into action in my own life, my net worth has quadrupled.
Yeah, because you're going to be good at stuff other people need help with.
Right.
So if you can help them, get to your level with whatever.
Which is what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. And there's stuff I suck at, and now that I know, see, I'd be a huge hypocrite if I expected people to pay me for coaching so I could teach them everything I've learned over the last 20 years, but then I'm going to pinch a penny and not pay a coach to teach me what they've learned over the last 10 years.
Right.
I'd be the biggest hypocrite ever. So as you know, like attracts like. You attract people that are like you. So if I'm not willing to invest in myself to become better, how the hell can I expect anyone to invest in me to make them better? Does that make sense? Absolutely.
And negative attracts negative too, which is why you have to be careful with all that, Right. Definitely keep the positivity around. So this is going to be a short podcast, like we said, guys. I think these have been some great it's been some great advice already, just between two guys that are entrepreneurs. Neither of us are nowhere near we want to be. We're still growing. We haven't made it. We're still pushing forward every day. But there's definitely, we have invested in ourselves, and you can too. And I think there's things in this podcast that anybody can take and use to enhance their life. So, like I said in previous podcasts, guys, this is a Dads Who Lift podcast, but you do not have to be a dad to like and listen to this podcast. You do not have to lift to like and listen to this podcast. This podcast is for anybody that wants to enhance their life and be the best person or best version of themselves that they can be. So if you guys got anything out of this, please, we do this for free. It actually costs us money. So if you got anything out of this at all, please give us a 5-star review. Please like and subscribe. We also have a Facebook group too. We post all these videos to our Dads Who Lift podcast Facebook group. If you could share that, that'd be awesome too. So you got anything else you want to throw in there, Joel?
No, last thing I want to say is think about where you want to be 5 years from now. So,
envision it.
Yeah, and you got to put the work in. Nothing comes easy. You just got to,
And make a plan, right?
You got to come up with a plan, come up with a way to see it through, and be prepared to eat shit for a couple of years until it's worth it in the end.
Absolutely.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
All right, guys, take care.
Yellow beneath them speeches trying to air a grievance, but his lines are overhead, better check the air for clearance. Call the tower, this is ours, clear the heat, the air apparent. Really I've never been better. Legacy, this is forever. All the more times I've been severed, I'm raising the bar, you can go ahead and measure. Think about time for a toast. Time that we welcome to go. Yo, we're just leaving, I think.
Listen, there's no way to be the best version of yourself if you're not raising the bar.
Raising the bar isn't just about doing the things you're supposed to be doing. It's about doing those things that no one expects you to do and doing them perfectly.
Thanks for listening, guys. If you love this podcast and you are a dad who lifts, check out our Facebook group, Dads Who Lifts, and join. You can also catch this podcast on SoundCloud, YouTube, www.dadswholifapparel.com. We also have a Dads Who Lift Apparel Facebook page.
One more time, this is forever. Remember the legend, he never will die. I ain't bigger dead than alive, bigger dead than alive. I ain't bigger dead than alive, dead than alive. I ain't bigger dead than alive, bigger dead than alive. Just making sure that you know why, because this is forever.